So I'd like to start with a prediction. My prediction is that global extreme poverty will disappear completely within the next 30 years. When I say global extreme poverty, the kind I'm talking about is the not enough food, no access to clean water, no access to health care, kind of really tragic poverty in which basic needs are going unmet. And it's really a struggle just to survive. When these basic needs are unmet, these deficits are often mutually reinforcing. When you don't have enough food, your health is compromised. You need more health care. You don't have access to health care. You get things like diarrheal illnesses when you don't have access to clean water. And that reduces your absorption of the nutrients that you do consume. So these deficits in basic needs, together they form the poverty cycle. They're mutually reinforcing nature. In contrast, we've got relative poverty, which Jeff Sachs describes as the struggle to make ends meet, but death is not at their door. And I'm definitely not talking about the I can't afford my iPhone data plan and the payments on my car kind of poverty. It's not what I'm talking about. Big difference. Now this is the billions of people living under these two poverty lines. 2008, almost 2.5 billion people were living under making less than $2 a day. So what I'm predicting is that within 30 years, global extreme poverty of this sort, will completely disappear. So let me tell you a little bit about why I think that. In 1996, Bill Clinton made this comment. Even his cat has its own webpage. This is the number of internet users as a percentage of world population over time. There's 1996. Even his cat had its own webpage. 2004, Facebook launched, and people connected. 2007, the first iPhone launched. People took that connection everywhere. What about the next 30 years? What's going to happen? What will the effects be? What kind of opportunities will this create? At the same time, the number of mobile phone subscribers in Africa has been increasing 20% per year for the past 5 years. It's now the second biggest mobile phone market after Asia. What do you think the effect of that connectivity will be? Citizens all over the world are making their voices heard. They're using new tools, new media, this newfound connectivity to organize, to spread their message. What was the effect of this newfound connectivity and these tools on the Arab Spring revolutions? How much did that contribute? People are demanding and creating change, holding their governments accountable. Businesses are seeing these forces at work, and they're seeing opportunities, and they're taking advantage. This is foreign direct investment from all sources into developing countries. This is businesses. This is private investment. This is not aid. This is not charity. This is not foreign aid of any kind. What about the next 30 years here? What will those effects be? all of these things that I'm describing, the connectivity, the investments, the better governance, they exhibit a kind of network effect. When you have increased connectivity, you have access to markets, and then investment follows. You have investment in infrastructure especially. You have increased connectivity. Increased connectivity allows people to share information, to hold their governments accountable. More accountable governments creates an environment where businesses want to invest. So what we've got here is a poverty elimination cycle. It's not a poverty cycle. We've got a poverty elimination cycle. I think this is a tremendous opportunity for you and for me to get involved in new and more impactful ways. When I was in undergrad in engineering, I worked with Engineers Without Borders. I led the design and construction of a $40,000 water distribution system for a village of about 1,000 people in Kenya. And when we were all finished and ready to turn the water on for the first time, I was expecting people to be overjoyed, expecting to see this reaction of just joy. What we saw was this. I was perplexed. And I love this picture because it makes me think. It made me think then too. What would be the impact of this project? What basic needs, what needs were still unmet? If we were to optimistically assume all 1,000 people in that village, that we lifted them above the $1.25 poverty line, best case scenario. And then, let's say there are 2 neighboring villages, all of them too, 3,000 people, best case scenario, we lift 3,000 people above that poverty line. And we subtract that 3,000 people from the number of people living under that poverty line in 2008. This is the difference it makes. Before and after, best case scenario, that's the difference. It's actually less than a pixel. You can't see any difference here. So we thought, how can we use these multiplying forces, these network effects, to have an even bigger impact? What if we can connect these people to the global economy, to the global knowledge economy? We're talking about jobs, really, plain and simple. We're talking about jobs. If you've got a job, making decent money, you get enough to eat. If you've got a job making decent money, you can get access to health care. You can get access to clean water. If you've got a job, you can pretty much take care of your own needs. So the solution that I'm working on, this is my PhD research, the solution that I'm trying to create is creating jobs using something called human computation. Because the other thing here is that there's tremendous untapped human potential. You've got human brains with unemployment that are not being put to use. So how can we approach this problem? How can we access those human resources? And our solution is human computation. Human computation is when you have people doing really simple tasks that are easy for people, but hard for computers. You're essentially replacing computers with people for tasks for which that makes sense, for which you have a lot of such tasks. And to have the biggest possible impact, formed a team and created a company to do this human computation work called Pula Cloud. The Pula is the currency of Botswana. Pula is also their word for rain. So rain is so valuable that it's the same word as money. Cloud. It's a cloud-based kind of work. So what kind of tasks can we have people do for human computation? Here's an example. This is one we've got people doing. Google Street View images. Are there any windows open on this house? This is a picture from somewhere in St. Louis. I hope it's nobody's house. Pretty easy for a person. Pretty hard for a computer, though. If you want to do this for all of St. Louis, it's a lot of windows, a lot of houses. If you want to do this all over the country, that's a lot of these tasks. So why do we care about windows? Well, I'm in environmental engineering. I work with air quality researchers. They're interested in knowing what's the relationship between indoor and outdoor air pollution exposure, because indoor and outdoor air pollutants are different kinds of pollutants. What's the relationship between that and respiratory illnesses? And if your windows are open, it tells us something about your exposure. And then how does that change across geographic areas? So we're taking this data that's out there, this Google Street View imagery, and we're processing it in new ways. Now, take that, repeat 100,000 times or more, we're going to do it across the country. It doesn't actually cost us that much as the researchers to pay to get this work done. It's pretty cheap per task, but this is actually a great wage for the people doing the work. This is a comparison of what somebody can make doing day labor in Kamuga, Kenya. It's the same village I was talking about before. And that's if they can even find a job doing day labor. I'm talking about like working on somebody else's small farm, like smaller than this room, or doing some kind of minor construction. That's even if they can find a job, that's the kind of wage they can make compared to the wages they make doing Pula Cloud. So this is really attractive, that wage. So we're getting a lot of work done, doing a lot of data processing for not a lot of money. At the same time, this is a great wage for the people doing the work. And we're also opening up new avenues for inquiry. So really it's like win, win, win. So I started with a prediction. But what I didn't say is that it's a conditional prediction. Poverty is not just going away, it's not just happening. The things that I described at the beginning, the investments, the connectivity, better governance, that represents an opportunity. But we have to seize that opportunity. It's not just going away on its own. So as TEDsters, I assume that you are people who are working for a more connected, more productive, freer, more inclusive world. And I challenge you to figure out how you can contribute. not with aid, not with charity, because you are more creative than that. So what I predict is that poverty is going to disappear precisely because of you and me and things like Hula Cloud. Because it's not a done deal. There are opposing forces at work. Climate change is causing increasingly frequent extreme weather events with a disproportionate effect on the poor. Floods, droughts, disruptions in food supply, water access issues. Repressive governments are using these new connectivity tools to keep an ever tighter lid on their populations. This is a website that offers rewards for identifying these protesters. So my prediction is not that we can just sit back and watch as extreme poverty disappears. My prediction is that the combined effects of Hula Cloud, of the work that you're doing, and the work that I hope you will do, the things that, the creative ways that you'll think of to contribute that would totally surprise me. My prediction is that the combined effects of all of those things together, Hula Cloud, and the things that you can and I think will do, together will outpace those opposing forces that I just mentioned. And within 30 years, we'll live in a world free of extreme poverty. So let's get to it.